Them as we gather to recognize the legacy of service of World War II veteran Captain Louis Vernon Landry and to formally present to his family the Bronze Star Medal he earned through his service to our nation. Please stand if you are able and remain standing for the arrival of our nation's colors by the VFW 12th District Honor Guard, the singing of our national anthem by Sergeant Tristan Fincher of the Louisiana Army National Guard, the Pledge of Allegiance led by U.S. Navy Captain John Robertson, and the invocation offered by Father Carl Daigle, pastor of Mary Queen of Peace Catholic Church. Present the colors.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched, we're so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Order arms. Honor Guard, the colors are posted.
Detail. Forward, mark.
Please remain standing for the invocation.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, as we gather for the posthumous presentation of the Bronze Star Medal for Dr. Louis Vernon Landry, we thank you for his sacrificial service to his country and the local community. We rejoice that as a combat medic and medical professional, he personally shared in the healing ministry of your Son, Jesus Christ, the divine physician. Through the power of the Holy Spirit working in and through him, lives were saved, physical health and well-being was restored and enhanced, and medical standards elevated. Since he has gone before us, we pray for the repose of his eternal soul. We also ask that from his place on high, his prayers may contribute to world peace, the protection of all those who serve in the military, the raising up of medical professionals with the heart of Jesus, and physical health and healing for all people. We ask this through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Thank you, Father Carl. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. On behalf of the Landry family, it is my privilege to welcome each of you to this very special, long-awaited occasion. We are honored to recognize the distinguished guests, elected officials, military leaders, veterans, family members, and friends who have joined us today. We welcome the office of Governor Jeff Landry, the office of Speaker of the House Mike Johnson, Bossier City Mayor Tommy Chandler, and Louisiana State Representative Raymond Cruz. We also extend a special welcome to our guest speaker and Bronze Star Medal presenter, Colonel Miles B. Caggins III, United States Army retired, Commander Randy Campbell of VFW Post 4588, and the members of the VFW District Honor Guard, whose participation brings such dignity and meaning to today's ceremony. We are especially pleased to welcome distinguished members of Captain Landry's extended family, who also served in the United States military. Captain John Robertson, United States Navy, retired, and Colonel Jim Noel, United States Army, retired. Sergeant First Class Jason Matthews, United States Army, retired, and Captain Landry's granddaughter, Army veteran Veronica Landry Tenike. We also recognize Sergeant Tristan Fincher, whose rendition of our national anthem helped open the ceremony so beautifully. We have 3 World War II veterans here today. We want to recognize each of them for their extraordinary service as part of the greatest generation. U.S. Navy veteran Tom Roberts, who is 101 years old. United States Air Force veteran George Penfield, who is 100 years old. And U.S. Army veteran Lee Solis, who is 99 years old. Can you hear me? Thank you so much for your service. To all veterans and current members of our armed forces, thank you for your service and for being part of this historic occasion. Most importantly, we welcome the children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, extended family, and friends of Captain Louis Vernon Landry. Your presence is a powerful reflection of the legacy he and his wife Irene created, a legacy of family, faith, healing, and service to others. Today, nearly 8 decades after Captain Landry's service during World War II, his family has gathered to ensure that his sacrifice is remembered, his service is honored, and the recognition he earned is finally placed in the hands of those who have carried his legacy forward. Today, we have gathered to honor the life, military service, and enduring legacy of Captain Louis Vernon Doc Landry. Captain Landry was born on October 11, 1916, in Plaquemine, Louisiana. After earning his medical degree from Louisiana State University School of Medicine, he accepted a commission in the United States Army Medical Corps and entered active duty on June 30, 1942. During World War II, Captain Landry served in both the Asiatic Pacific and European theaters of operation. As a combat physician during the Papuan campaign in New Guinea, he provided life-saving medical care under hazardous conditions and earned the Combat Medical Badge. He later served with the 91st and the 111th General Hospitals in England, where he met Army nurse Lieutenant Irene Lomas, who he married while in England during the war. Following the war, the Landrys made their home in Bossier City, where they raised their 5 children. Known throughout the community as Doc, Captain Landry devoted the remainder of his life to caring for others through both private practice and public health service. Under the War Department policy recognizing World War II recipients of the Combat Medical Badge, Captain Landry became eligible for the Bronze Star Medal. However, the medal was never formally presented to him during his lifetime. Today, nearly eight decades later, we have gathered to ensure Doc's family receives that long overdue recognition on his behalf. It is now my honor to introduce today's guest speaker and Bronze Star Medal presenter. Colonel Miles B. Caggins III, United States Army retired, served our nation honorably for more than 26 years as a second-generation Army officer. During his distinguished career, he completed 3 combat tours in Iraq and served as the senior spokesperson for the global coalition to defeat ISIS in Iraq and Syria. Colonel Caggins led strategic communications at the Pentagon, the White House, and Army installations around the world. He continues his service to veterans and our nation through his work in the international affairs and as a member of the national boards of the Military Officers Association of America, as well as Iraq and Afghanistan Veterans of America. He is also a life member of the VFW and charter member of the Command Sergeant Major A.C. Cotton VFW Post 12209 at Fort Hood, Texas. Colonel Caggins' connection to military service spans generations. His father served in Vietnam, and his grandfather served in the Pacific Theater during World War II. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our guest speaker and Bronze Star Medal presenter, Colonel Miles B. Caggins III.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. What an honor to be here today. Everybody looks so bright and beautiful. I had a chance to meet several of you as you walked in, and this is somewhat of a family reunion that it seems we've had here. And I want to share with you my journey to being in your presence today. I was serving in Iraq in 2009 as a spokesman for the 4th Brigade of the 1st Armored Division in southern Iraq. We were about 4,000 soldiers in the area size of, about the size of Louisiana in southern Iraq. And I was running social media for the brigade and representing these soldiers in the media. And I received some DMs, direct messages in Twitter, social media app, a messaging app. Veronica Landry was messaging me. At the time, Veronica, raise your hand, Veronica, for those who don't know you, Doc's granddaughter. At the time, Veronica was a producer at the KFOX, a local Fox affiliate morning show. And she said, "Hey, Major, I have an idea. You have all these soldiers out here who have great stories, and we want to start this segment on the local news back here in El Paso called the Wednesday Warrior segment. And here's what I need you to do." And she gave me a long list of getting videos and photos and biographies of these stories, setting up special phones so the soldiers could call back, and the Wednesday Warrior segment was born. And this was the beginning of Veronica and I working together, and really the beginning of me just saying yes to everything Veronica asked me. Those yeses continued. I was in a position where I was able to help Veronica into a role where she served as commanding general speechwriter. And during that time, Veronica was more than a speechwriter. She was a good idea fairy. And she added the general, 2-star general, to her list of people who said, "Yes, we will do what you say, Veronica." And so later on, as we've gotten to know each other over the past 16 years, there have been more yeses. In 2022, Veronica and her husband, who is a veteran, Chris, they were married in Colorado. And it couldn't just be a justice of peace wedding. It couldn't just be a church wedding. It was a wedding where she wanted her old friend Miles to put on his uniform, come out to Colorado and officiate a wedding. So after some Googling and some training and signing a lot of legal documents, I flew out to Colorado. I said yes, and watched Veronica say yes to Chris, and they've been married now for a few years. And finally, a few months ago, Veronica called. She said, "Hey, Miles, I've I've been doing some research about my grandfather. Went to the National Archives, and it turns out that he's authorized to have the Bronze Star Medal. What do you think about that? Oh, wow, that's great, Veronica, that your grandfather's being honored by our nation with the Bronze Star. Thanks. Hey, yeah, I gotta go watch TV or something. I'll talk to you later. No. She didn't let me off the phone. She said, maybe we should have a little ceremony. Okay, you should have a ceremony. Present it to your family. There's some senior citizens. They probably would like it. They can put it on their mantelpiece next to the flags for Doc. And she said, yeah, that's what I'll do. And then there were a series of progressive texts and calls. There's all a record of this, Veronica. We have evolved into this wonderful, wonderful, auspicious occasion today where we have more than about 100 of you who have joined in the celebration of Doc Landry. Now, who here knew Doc while Doc was alive, of course? Several of you knew Doc. We're going to have some audience participation today. I want you to think of one adjective, a single adjective to describe Doc. Then as you raise your hand, I will point you out and you just shout out that adjective that describes Doc. First.
Loving.
Loving.
Caring.
Caring. Generous. Selfless. Loving, caring, generous, selfless. 10 doctors rolled in Superman. Super Doc. Any more? Pipe smoker. Charismatic. Charismatic. We'll get to that. Sir? Full of wisdom. Wise. Sage. Okay. And a fisherman. Doc was quite the fellow. So we know about him. Let's talk a bit about what. Larry.
Very good diagnostician.
Very good diagnostician. All right. Caring, wise, smart, pipe-smoking, fisherman, charismatic, probably a good storyteller too. And we have a story to tell about Doc's life. I want you to picture, go back with me to the 1940s, World War II, and take a long journey with me on a boat packed with soldiers to an island just north of Australia. Mountain ranges rising sharply from the jungle, swamps, waterlogged forest along the coast, temperatures in the 90s, high humidity, sounds a lot like Louisiana, tropical rain, mud, mosquitoes, a lot like Louisiana, leeches and thick vegetation that could conceal enemy positions until soldiers walked right up upon them. On top of this, what our soldiers faced was malaria, dengue fever, poor nutrition, and a ferocious Japanese foe that was fighting for every inch of that island. The Army's history of the Papuan campaign records that 8,546 Allied troops were killed or wounded, and they brought the fight to the enemy, killing more than 13,000 Japanese. The Army also recorded 27,000 cases of malaria. Unfortunately, our hero Doc also had malaria from the Papua New Guinea campaign. For every 2 men who became, this is quite a fact, for every 2 men who became battle casualties, 5 went down with fevers. So disease, non-battle injury has plagued our wars and definitely plagued our wars in World War II. Combat created patience, the jungle created patience, and disease created patience, and this was the operating environment that Doc was in. He treated soldiers under hazardous combat conditions during the Papuan campaign, and he earned the Combat Medical Badge. Later, he was reassigned to England. Long journey over to England, much nicer weather in England. Food probably was slightly better, but certainly not as good as Louisiana. And that's where Doc performed more than 300 medical procedures. Through Veronica's outreach to the National Archive, we found a memorandum from Doc's supervisor that listed every procedure Doc performed in England. I'll take down through some of these procedures that he performed working at a salary of about $350 a month. 145 closed reductions, 2 open reductions, 45 Kirschner wire procedures, we'll get into that in a moment, 42 skin grafts, 31 secondary closures, 5 amputations, a couple of appendectomies, 2 bursectomies, 9 sequestrectomies, 1 procedure known as a tentotomy, and 15 lumbar sympathetic blocks. Some of these terms deserve a picture. I spoke to a doctor in the house earlier to get these terms right. The K-wire. Who knows what a K-wire is? There's a couple of doctors who know what a K-wire is. Perhaps you had a broken bone somewhere along your life. The Kirschner wire is a thin metal pin used to hold broken pieces of bone in position. Picture a slender steel pin passing through bone to keep a difficult fracture aligned while it heals. A sequestrectomy deals with a different problem. Sometimes we have serious injuries and infections that can leave a piece of bone dead and separated from the healthy bone around it. Now, a bone that has a damaged piece inside the bone, the surgeon must locate and remove that fragment so the bone around it can heal. Did I get that right, Doc? Okay. This is what Doc Landry was doing. And also, he performed curettage procedures, 5 of these curettage procedures. This is a narrow surgical tool with a tiny spoon-shaped end. Okay, most of the time when we're using small spoons, we're maybe tasting ice cream down at the local ice cream place. This is a doctor's steady hand using a small metal spoon to dig out dead parts of bone to help the body heal. This is what Doc Landry did. This is the talent he had, and this is the service he provided to his fellow servicemen. Each of those more than 300 procedures represents a person. That person is a son, a brother, a service member, a friend in need, and Doc was the doctor there to help them get home and have a life that they can continue to live of service to our nation. Along the way, Doc and his steady hands happened upon a young, beautiful lieutenant, Irene. Now, I did deploy to Iraq 3 times, and I assure you that there were some young, beautiful lieutenants, but they were far away from wherever I served it. But Doc was charismatic. Doc had what the kids would call game, and he was able to pick up the most beautiful nurse, make her his wife there, and they built this beautiful family after the war. A little bit about the Bronze Star. Did you know that during World War II, there were more than 200,000 Bronze Stars presented to our service members fighting in Europe and the Pacific? Some of these Bronze Stars were were earned by people you may know. Who here are movie fans? Has anybody watched On Golden Pond? Yes, On Golden Pond, 12 Angry Men, starring Henry Fonda. He earned the Bronze Star for his service in the Pacific. Gentlemen, I know some of you in here watch Gunsmoke. My dad would make me watch these westerns growing up. Gunsmoke. James Arness, he fought in Anzio in Italy and earned the Bronze Star. The Twilight Zone. Rod Serling fought with the 11th Airborne in the Philippines, and he earned the Bronze Star and Purple Heart. And right here in Louisiana, we recently awarded a Bronze Star to a 104-year-old veteran, youngsters. This is a man named Jim Bollock from Eunice. Jim was a prisoner of war and was in the Bataan Death March, and he was recently awarded his Bronze Star. In a ceremony similar like we're having today, recognizing that some of our World War II veterans did not receive the awards that they earned during their lifetime. So an actor, television, creator of the Twilight Zone, local hero, all earning the Bronze Star. And today, Captain Louis Vernon Doc Landry is added to their ranks of Bronze Star recipients. After the war, we know that Doc came home. He built this community, the medical center. I drove around yesterday with Veronica. I saw Landry Street. It's actually a real thing. I passed by the high school with the Vikings, and Doc was served there many years as a team physician. You see his football on the display table when he walked in. So Doc was definitely part of this community, and he was part of VFW Post 4588. Did you know that Doc was one of the first 200 members here? And he was a member here from 1945 until he passed away. So this is a reunion. This is the right place, the most fitting location to recognize Doc. He was a great family man. He served with distinction. He saved lives. His service matters, and our nation remembers. It is my privilege as a soldier for life and a veteran, a friend of Veronica and the Landry family who I've met at family events or other travel, to stand before you today and to present the Bronze Star Medal posthumously to the family of Captain Lewis Vernon Doc Landry, United States Army Medical Corps.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate that. Oh. Retired Army Colonel and physician Jim Noel will now say a few words about the Bronze Star Medal and its official description.
Howdy, y'all. Figure I'm from Texas. A little bit about the Bronze Star. President Franklin Roosevelt authorized the Bronze Star on the 4th of February, 1944. This mic or this one? There you go. 4th of February, 1944. Now, World War II started on the 7th of December, 1941. A whole lot of folks served between 1941 and 1944. And so they were not awarded a Bronze Star at that time because the Bronze Star didn't exist. So Colonel Russell Reeder proposed the award in 1943 because there should be a ground combat equivalent to the Air Medal that was being awarded to our air combat troops. General George C. Marshall thought this was a great idea, and the Bronze Star was created. Initially, it was given for acts of bravery and wounded for those in ground combat. In 1947, many years after the war was over, the rules were expanded to include people who had won or were awarded the Combat Infantry Badge and the Combat Medical Badge. And then it was expanded to those who performed meritorious service during combat operations and applied to those that had won or were awarded the Combat Infantry and the Combat Medical Badge. It is the 4th highest award for combat awards, the Medal of Honor being the top, the Silver Star, the Distinguished Flying Cross, and Service Award medals. The Bronze Star was designed by Rudolph Freund of the Bailey Banks and Biddle Jewelry Company. It's a 5-pointed bronze star, 1.5 inches across, with with a small raised star in the center. It hangs from a rectangular loop and a red and blue ribbon. Now, good Colonel mentioned several Bronze Star awardees. Here's a few more. Audie Murphy. He was awarded the Bronze Star with V device. John McCain, you may have heard of him. He was awarded 3 Bronze Stars. Colin Powell, who pretty much ran the Desert Storm, Desert Shield campaigns, which I was part of. Some folks you might not have thought of won awarded Bronze Stars who weren't active duty military. Ernest Hemingway is a war correspondent. Andy Rooney is a war correspondent. And one of my past friends, Joe Galloway, famous for the Idrang Valley campaign and the movie We Were Soldiers Once and Young. Oliver Stone and Rocky Blyer, the Pittsburgh Steelers, all were awarded the Bronze Star. So this award is rare and it's respected. And as I said, it's the 4th highest combat award within the military. And to give some perspective, during Desert Storm, Desert Shield, 500,000 soldiers, airmen, and sailors were deployed. 5,000 Bronze Stars were awarded. That means 1% of the military. Therefore, it's a significant award which military personnel and their families should be justifiably proud of, and the Landry family should be proud of Doc Landry's meritorious service in combat conditions. Thank you.
Okay, and Kathy Landry would like to do some reflections. Come on up.
Yes, today I am going to tell you the story of how my mother, a nurse from Farmington, Minnesota, met my father, a doctor from Port Allen, Louisiana, during the war. My father, Vernon, graduated from the LSU Medical School in 1941, and as soon as the war started, he was snapped up by the Army because they needed doctors. And as you have heard, first he went to New Guinea, but then he also went to Australia for a little while. Then he was shipped back to the U.S. and sent to England. He always talked about transit ships. He said there was absolutely nothing to do. He hated it. But the only thing that happened was poker games. There was poker continuously going on. And I like to think that maybe he taught those people how to play bourrée, a form of poker played in South Louisiana. Now, my mother knew as she was graduating from high school that there was going to be a war. And she wanted to get in on it. So what did she do? She enrolled in the Augustana School of Nursing in Chicago, Illinois, and later worked at the Children's Hospital there. As soon as the war started, she was Johnny on the spot. She enlisted in the U.S. Army. She had to go down to Alabama for basic training, and they stopped somewhere, maybe in northern Alabama. She went in to get something to eat. But they couldn't understand a person from Minnesota, and she couldn't understand the people from Alabama. So she had to point at the menu to get something to eat. But she got something to eat. Eventually, she got through her basic training, and she was assigned immediately to England. And I have a couple of stories to tell, she used to tell when she was in England. They would catch rides sometimes with guys who could get a Jeep on the weekend. Once, when they were coming back, the fog was so thick that they were out in front of the Jeep with flashlights to keep the Jeep on the road. Another thing that they would do on the weekends is that they would wash the patient's hair if they couldn't get a ride on a Jeep to go sightseeing. You may say, how can you wash someone's hair when they are in bed? Well, I've seen it done, and it's very simple. You just get a piece of rubber, or in our case plastic, put it under their shoulders, down into a pitcher of water, pour some on, suds it up, pour it on, all the water goes down into the bucket. And I'm sure those soldiers who could not get out of bed were happy to have their hair washed after they'd been sitting in bed for several weeks. And then both my mother and my father were assigned to Cirencester, England, in a field hospital. He was in charge of the orthopedic ward. And he loved his bourbon. But you know, you could not get any bourbon in the war. All they had was Scotch and English whiskey. He didn't want that. So what did he do? He requisitioned bourbon as a medical aid for his patients and wrote up orders. One day when he came in, he said to Irene, "What is happening to my bourbon? It is dwindling." She said, "Well, I'm just following your orders. Give them 1 spoonful of bourbon every night to help them sleep." He said, no, that bourbon is for me. It's not for the patients. My mother said there was just no way that she could keep working for him, so there was only one way out. She would have to marry him. But that's not really true, but that was her story. And that's not true. They were in love, and they got married in both a civil and a church ceremony in April of 1944. This was 2 months before D-Day, because they didn't know when the war was ever going to end, if the war was ever going to end. They decided to strike while the iron was hot. Now, I want to give a little aside about Cirencester. My sister Chris and I actually went there in 2000, and we went to a museum. I saw an old timer there, and I said to him, "Do you know where that field hospital was for the U.S. in the war?" And he said, "Oh yes, come over here, right to a window." And he said, "You see that green space right out there? That's where the field hospital was." So we actually got to connect with their story. Of course, then when the war ended, they were shipped back. But you know, it was not soon enough for me, because he got shipped to Fort McPherson, Georgia, which is in Atlanta. And on a cold and snowy morning in December of 1945, I was born. But then eventually he was discharged, and he decided to go to Bossier City because they needed a doctor in Bossier City. But I believe that the real reason is he was afraid that the culture shock from my mother from Minnesota would be too much if he went to South Louisiana. So instead, he would stay in North Louisiana, where he had a sister who lived right across the river in Shreveport, which would work out. And we were then all born. Everybody else was born in Shreveport except for me, because I had the privilege of being born in the Army hospital. But that is how my mother, from Farmington, Minnesota, met my father, Vernon, from Port Allen, Louisiana, and got married and lived happily ever after.
Thank you so much, Kathy. That's a great story. I love it. Captain Landry's legacy belongs first to his family, but it is also woven into the history of Bossier City, the state of Louisiana, and our nation. We are honored today to receive several civic recognitions commemorating his military service and the long overdue presentation of his Bronze Star Medal. At this time, Captain Landry's children, Larry, Kathy, and Connie, will receive these recognitions. Our first presentation is on behalf of Governor Jeff Landry. Please welcome Mr. Bubba Sessions, Regional Director of the Office of Intergovernmental Affairs.
I don't know how I can follow all that. That's there's been some great speakers, but I think you got this. I think you stole the show. I love those. I love those stories. And everything that I would read here this morning has already been touched on and said by all of you, and wonderfully done. I want to say something about these guys over here real quick. 100? I didn't know if I was going to make 20. And these guys are hitting 103 or 1. That's crazy. Congratulations on your birthdays, guys. 100 years. I can't imagine. I'm just sitting here thinking as they're calling them out, like, what have they seen in their lifetime? I mean, cell phones. I can't even imagine that. So, Dr. Landry, I've read some things about him, and of course, again, not to be redundant, but you guys have done a wonderful job of spelling out the things that he's accomplished in his life. And as a Bossier City resident, I'm a beneficiary of the things that he put in place. Bossier General, big hand in that. My brother was born there. So I appreciate you guys having me here, the family. It's absolutely an honor, and I'm humbled by it. Because obviously I didn't serve in the military, but to see the love and the dedication of country from the people that are here that have served and Dr. Landry is something that's spectacular. And I think all young people should be able to hear stories like that. That's just, I can picture the whole time. Your mother, I just picture all that. So I'll go through to the bottom of this and just and be quick about it so that other speakers can get up. Whereas Dr. Landry honorably served his country as a captain in the United States Army from 1942 to 1946, exemplifying the values of duty, sacrifice, and patriotism. Whereas throughout his life, Dr. Landry demonstrated exceptional leadership, civic responsibility, and dedication to the welfare of others, leaving a legacy that continues to inspire future generations. And so now it's a great privilege that I, on behalf of our great governor, Jeff Landry, in the state of Louisiana, present the family with the accommodation. Thank you.
South Louisiana, I bet you are. I bet you are.
Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Sessions, for the meaningful recognition from Governor Landry, and please extend the Landry's family sincere gratitude to the governor. Our next presentation is on behalf of Speaker of the United States House of Representatives, Mike Johnson. Please welcome Pam Grah and Brandon Pastor, representing Speaker Johnson and his office, to make the presentation.
Good morning, everybody. I just want to start by saying thank you for the opportunity to be here today. As a veteran and a military spouse as well, I really appreciate the opportunity to present this on behalf of the Speaker. So on behalf of the Speaker of the House, the flag of the United States of America, presented to memorialize the posthumous presentation of the Bronze Star Medal to Captain Louis Vernon Landry, United States Army Medical Corps, World War II veteran, signed August 12, 2026, by Speaker Mike Johnson, U.S. House of Representatives.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Ms. Grah and Mr. Pastor, and please extend the Landry family's sincere appreciation to Speaker Johnson. Our next presentation comes from the community Captain Landry called home following the war and served for more than 3 decades as a physician and public health leader. Please welcome Bossier City Mayor Tom Chandler to present a proclamation honoring the life, military service, and enduring legacy of Captain Louis Vernon Landry.
I want to tell you how honored I am to be able to read this proclamation, and I want to thank the family for asking me to read it to y'all today. Thank you so much. Whereas Dr. L.B. Landry devoted his life to the practice of medicine, to the care of the citizens of Bossier City and Northwest Louisiana, touching countless lives through his compassion, skill, and unwavering commitment to public health. And whereas after earning his medical degree from the Louisiana State University Medical School in New Orleans and completing his internship at the former Shreveport Charity Hospital, Dr. Landry established a distinguished medical career that earned him the respect and admiration of both his patients and his peers. And whereas Dr. Landry served as the chairman of the board of Bossier City General Hospital and played a significant role in the growth and advancement of healthcare services within our community. Whereas Dr. Landry honorably served his country as captain in the United States Army from 1942 to 1946, exemplifying the values of duty, sacrifice, and patriotism. And whereas throughout his life, Dr. Landry demonstrated exceptional leadership, civic responsibility, and dedication to the welfare of others, leaving a lasting legacy that continues to inspire future generations. And whereas the citizens of Bossier City wish to recognize and celebrate the extraordinary life, the service, and contributions of Dr. L.B. Landry and express their gratitude for the profound impact he made on our community. Now, therefore, I, Thomas H. Chandler, Mayor of the great city of Bossier City, do hereby proclaim August 12th, 2026 is Dr. L.V. Landry Day. Yes.
Thank you, Mayor Chandler, for this proclamation and for recognizing Captain Landry's lasting contributions to the citizens of Bossier City. Our next presentation is an expression of commendation from the Louisiana House of Representatives, honoring Captain Landry's courageous service during World War II and recognizing the posthumous presentation of his Bronze Star Medal. Please welcome Louisiana State Representative Raymond Cruz to make this presentation.
Thank you. This is quite the ceremony, I got to tell you. I'm very impressed, and I want to stress just how important it is and how great it is to have Veronica and Shannon and the Colonel all here to present and make this thing worthwhile. A lot of times in service, which I served active duty and reserve in the Air Force, you don't get any recognition unless someone brings it to you. So I thank you guys for doing that. I remember one time in England myself, after a conflict, the Colonel had us all sit down in a room. We're getting ready to go home the next day. He had us all sit down there and write down all the stuff that we've been doing. Otherwise, it was not going to be recognized. So I want to thank you and all the people that made this so worthwhile. You know, even in the Bible, it talks about the importance of commemorating events and times and people. So I want to thank you for making this happen. Also, I want to thank the VFW. I mean, this is a great hall here. I got to admit, I'm impressed. I've been to several VFWs, and I think this appears to be a very well-run one. So thank you all put their time into that. This is another commendation. I think it's great. We've heard from DOD itself, the U.S. government, from Congress, from the state, from the governor, from the mayor, from the city, and now this is the state through really the district. So the district I represent is Bossier, pretty much North Bossier and Benton. So there are over 40,000 people here. So on behalf of those 40,000 people, I want to thank you for honoring Dr. Landry and also, of course, for Dr. Landry and his service. Now, our great U.S. Postal Service was supposed to send me a nice formal one from Baton Rouge. And we ordered the formal one last Monday or Tuesday, and it's not yet here from all the way down to Baton Rouge. So I had my assistant at least print it on paper so y'all can take this home until it gets here, sometime in December, I guess. So, thank you for that. Thank you for the great stories and all. I think this is a real testament to Dr. Landry and his family to see the kids here and the grandkids and just see y'all come from Tennessee. Are you still in Texas, in El Paso? Colorado? Oh, Colorado. Okay, those were my two boys that are, two kids that are now, and my brother too. And where else? I heard somewhere else. Texas. Okay, so it's great for y'all to come here to Bossier City. You probably didn't know where it was other than being part of the family. Bossier City that get heard a lot, but I'm just going to repeat just a few things here. We know what whereas means, but some things in particular I wanted to bring out here was being a part of the Bossier Parish Health Unit, being the director right here. That's an important thing to be part of the public health system here. Director DeSoto and Red River Health Units in 72. He diagnosed his own ALS, which many of y'all know is Lou Gehrig's disease, and worked through that. So that's a real testament to his character. He also served as the board, as chairman of the board for the Bossier City General Hospital. He was a member of the Bossier City Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors, a member of the St. Jude's Catholic Church, the Knights of Columbus, the St. Jude's Men's Club, the Bossier City Lions Club, the Shreveport, Louisiana Medical Societies, the Southern Medical Association, and the AMA, the American Medical Association. So this guy was engaged in community, which is really good to hear, because I don't know if you've noticed, but the younger generation sometimes doesn't, right now, seem to have that pull to participate in community. And I pray and I hope that we'll encourage them to become a part of the community and make those contributions locally when they can. He also made incredible contributions just to healthcare generally in Northwest Louisiana. And once again, we want to recognize him for his great achievement, achieving the Bronze Star, and for all the people that went to work for making that happen. That's not just a solo thing. People got to go through some hoops to make that happen. And Colonel, I'm glad you answered the phone all the time she called to make things happen. So once again, on behalf of the Louisiana House of Representatives and the state of Louisiana, the city of Bossier City, the parish of Bossier, and the United States of America, we thank you and for bringing this to our attention and for commemorating for this. So thanks again.
Thank you, Representative Cruz, for the meaningful recognition and for helping ensure Captain Landry's service is remembered by the people of Louisiana. We would also like to extend appreciation to Louisiana State Senator Adam Bass, who is unable to join us today due to official business in Baton Rouge. Senator Bass has extended his recognition to the Landry family and has arranged for a proclamation honoring Captain Doc Landry and his service to our nation. Although the proclamation will be received by the family at a later date, we are deeply grateful to Senator Bass for adding the recognition of Louisiana State Senate to this very special occasion. Through these presentations, Captain Landry's service is once again affirmed and remembered. And nearly 8 decades later, his courage, compassion, and sacrifice continue to be honored by his community, his state, and his nation. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me once again in thanking our civic leaders and representatives. As we draw today's ceremony to a close, it is fitting that our final reflections come from Captain Landry's family. Captain Landry's legacy lives not only through the military honors and civic recognitions presented today, but through the family he and Lieutenant Irene Lomas Landry raised, and the generations who continue to carry their values of service, compassion, and devotion to others. At this time, it is my honor to invite Captain Landry's son, Mr. Larry Landry, to come forward and deliver the family's final remarks. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Larry Landry.
Well, I'd like to thank everyone for being here today. Lord, this thing started small and grew like a big mushroom, thanks to my daughter. First of all, I would like to thank members of the greatest generation, our 3 older veterans over here, for showing up and being here What a great day. And it was great to meet you. And I would like to thank the VFW color guard from this district for being here to display the colors for us. A special thanks to the a cappella rendition of our Star Spangled Banner, Sergeant Fenster. He did a great job. He came from out of town, and you know, I've sang a cappella before, and it's not an easy thing to do, but he sure did. Can't go by without thanking Major Smart for being here to be our MC, if you will. And of course, it goes without saying that Colonel Coggins, whom I had the pleasure of meeting a few years ago when he was performing a marriage ceremony with my daughter and her present husband. That was a great time. We had a great meeting and made good friendships there in Colorado Springs. I thank my sister Kathy for her great rendition of family synopsis and how we all got here. Special thanks to our civic leaders and everybody from the governor's office on down to the mayor, and I don't want to go over too many names and numbers because we've been here a good long time. But thank. What?
Father Carl.
I can't hear you. Know
Father Carl.
Father Carl Daigle?
Yeah.
Oh, I know Father Carl Daigle real well. And I do appreciate being here and giving our invocation. I want to thank my daughter Veronica. This would not have happened if she had not nursed it along, pushed it along, threatened it along, whatever it took to make it happen. And it was going to be such a nice, small little ceremony. And I see all these people here, and I can't believe it's outstanding. So Veronica did a great job for us. I would like to thank Randy Campbell, the post commander, for allowing us to use his facility and to help get this thing organized and promoted. I would like to thank, last of all, but not least, all my family, all of our friends, close friends. I've got cousins from South Louisiana. I've got friends from in town. Lord, I had people show up that I didn't ever think they would ever show up for this, because they never came up here. I always went down there. But anyway, we're all here, had a good time. It was nice. It was very educational, I think. And so with that, I say thank you all for being here.
Thank you, Mr. Landry, for those meaningful words and for bringing today's ceremony to such a personal fitting and conclusion. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes today's ceremony honoring the life and legacy of Captain Louis Vernon Landry and commemorating the posthumous presentation of his Bronze Star Medal. Following the ceremony, the Landry family and our distinguished guests will remain for photographs. We also invite you to visit the memorabilia table. It's right there in the back, where photographs, military records, and personal items from Captain Landry's and Lieutenant Irene Lomas Landry's lives and military service are on display. A no-host lunch will follow at Casa Jimador on Airline Drive. On behalf of the Landry family, thank you to our distinguished guests, civic leaders, veterans, service members, family, and friends for being present on this historic occasion. Your presence today has helped ensure Captain Landry's courage, compassion, and service to our nation will never be forgotten. Thank you, and may God bless the Landry family, our armed forces, and the United States of America.